trading those top laners. Didn't work out so well for H in that game, but that was mainly down to Acolyte. The Alistar being locked in, that was a key champion for Jastly in the last game. I like it, and the Fiora slipping through.
Well, that was something that was open previously, and no one decided to opt into it. They are... I mean, obviously, we have seen Fiora flex between jungle and in Baron lane, but with the way that H played previously, maybe that's going to be a Baron lane pick. But it looks like Sengoku Gaming are just copying eBRO's draft from last time around. They're going to go with the Graves Orianna here.
I mean, they're even picking them in the right spots, which is nice for us. And, you know, the observers don't need to switch around. So thank you very much for keeping them in there. But unfortunately, they don't have the Alistar available that obviously has been picked up. Now, what's Tix and Kite thinking about here? Big smile on Jastly's face. He's so happy that he's got his Alistar again. The Corki available and picked. That actually may well be for Tix. I don't think Kite's going to take it. Maybe we'll see him go back for that Kai'Sa. Varus is available as well. You know, there's a lot of options that could work well with this combo.
Yeah, and I think Corki is a really great option too, because it gives you, again, some late game punching power. Corki scales really well as a magic damage carry, although he obviously, a lot of people traditionally think he's an AD carry. 80% of all the damage that Corki does is magic damage. That is another great teamfight tool coming through, though. It is going to be the Wukong locked in. Now, Braun comes in as well as a nice way of dealing with a lot of these kind of like immediate range threat. And we'll see the Lucian Braun, which is like a tried and tested old school combo in the Dragon lane here for the Sengoku Gaming roster. Very, very aggressive. And that, my friends, is an interesting addition to this game. Tix will be playing the Yasuo. So Yasuo Wukong, Yasuo Alistar, both really great ways to set up the Yasuo combo. It's just about finding those angles and finding those engagements in the teamfight. And of course, in that mid lane, Yasuo can get aggressive on the Orianna. You can put pressure on her in the early laning phase. So expect to see Tix maybe try and push the boat out a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, set up with the Grand Challenge, you can really get locked down quite a lot here. If they can catch on to either Hack or Deju, Wan, sorry, is going to be obviously on the Lucian, this could be worrying times for them. We already saw how well Jastly can work with the Alistar, getting those knockups, and as you mentioned, the Cyclone coming out from the Wukong. There is really that team fight capability is there once again from EBG, but this is a very tanky setup this time from Sengoku. As you mentioned, Braum, the big shield comes down, the Renekton, we know how strong he can be with the Dominus. And then, of course, the shockwaves to sort of back it all up. There's no doubt about it. Both these teams are looking for that heavy team fight potential. So keep your eyes peeled when that Rift Herald and Dragon does spawn. They are going to be wanting to engage. But before we get there, we've saw some pretty impressive tower diving in the last matchup. And that's really what I think we're going to be focusing on first.
Well, I also want to note that Kai has come back in for Mochi, so Sengoku Gaming have switched their Baron lane out for the original Baron laner they had in the series yesterday, and he'll be playing the Renekton. I think Renekton has become a blue side first pick for a reason. The champion is very strong right now in the current meta, because obviously, even though we do see a bit of a split push meta coming down, there is kind of this area of the game where teams do tend to brawl in the smaller skirmishes or sometimes full-blown team fights, especially around Rift Herald, and that is, you know, post-level 5, that's where Renekton really thrives. And so he kind of gets to this platform to accelerate his game very quickly. We'll see, though. It's an interesting matchup, the Renekton versus Fiora. Fiora can definitely have the lay of the land in the laning phase because she can outrange Renekton quite easily with the lunge. And we want to see if H can step up on a carry that's a little bit more mechanical, a little bit more sort of micro-orientated as well. So I'm excited to see this one. I think Baron lane definitely will be a focus.
Yeah, absolutely. So eBRO Gaming blowing, I think, all expectations out of the water, taking down Sengoku in game number 1. Can they do it once again and tie up the series? Because that will be a massive shock for Sengoku. They went 3 games yesterday against Thundertalk, and we know they certainly have the capabilities, and they showed that yesterday, but game 1 definitely was a surprise for them, us, everybody out there. But heck, now, going to be an interesting one. We know how the Yasuo works here against the Orianna. It's going to be a little hard to start with, and then things will start to turn in his favor.
Definitely has the ability, like level 2 to 3, to put some pressure on Orianna in the lane. Just needs to find the right angle with the minions to dash to. A little bit of support from his jungler wouldn't go amiss too. If you can burn a flash of Noriana early on, she's a sitting duck. Kai does find the very early lead versus Heish in this lane, and so has already started to establish a bit of priority on that top side of the map, which is great for Wukong, depending on which kind of path he wants to clear through. He's going for red into Raptors, and then maybe if he goes up towards Krugs, this is going to be a full red side clear into the top shuttle.
Ooh, that's the Ignite going down. I think that's Heish burnt out here. He's going to get the honey fruit down, and it should survive. Yes, he will. Manages to keep himself alive with the fruits still available, but he is very low here. Just looking for the dragon path. I think it's a long way out. He's looking more down towards the bottom side as they go with the vertical jungling. Ooh, that's going to work.
This is very risky from Heish. He was taunting Kai to do something. You know, he used that riposte to try and buy himself an exit strategy, but had Kai just used slice and dice, Kai just used slice and dice, could have very easily just found a Kelmamik and popped Heish down.
Lock him down, yeah.
Exactly. Have to be very careful here.
Ignite burned onto ticks there, actually. So just aggressive stuff, just making sure they do try and keep him down. At the moment, though, this bot lane, I was going to say, Sengoku might need to start respecting this. You can see, obviously, that Isis is nearby, so could easily have come down if they're stuck around, but they are going to go back and buy, and everybody makes that journey back now. Rush continuing. We were talking about vertical jungling. This is not vertical jungling. They are very much sticking to their own paths.
Heish down is building a big wave. Doesn't really have to support his jungler, though. Kai moves back in, little
big wave
standard combo, but there is the big wave, but there isn't really the support of the jungler to do anything about a dive. Like, especially pre-5, that is an area where you can potentially look to dive Renekton, but once he gets past level 5, it's a little bit more difficult to make that work because you get that huge burst of health. The Fury allows him to get massive healing off his Kelmamik. You should be a little careful about choosing to do that with Renekton. We're seeing a much more tame game this time round, though. No crazy rotates from the mid lane to try and dive particular towers. Looks like things are going to remain relatively quiet until those first objectives. You can see this is an opportunity where Kai's looking for it.
Isis is here, so tries to burn him down, baits him in. The Wukong Cyclone pops off, and Isis will claim himself first blood.
Just lack of vision to tell him if the Wukong was coming. He only found out about it a little too late there. He is very low, close to going down. I think actually Rush used his ultimate there to try and pop him off, and Heish manages to escape with a sliver of HP. I don't blame Kai for going for that. You know, he had a major level advantage, level 5 to level 4 on Fiora. That is a big deal. And so I think overall, a good play by Isis, though, to be at the right place at the right time.
So this is the initial bait. I mean, this was Heish just sort of baiting it out here. You can see already, he knew he had the Isis backup, and I think it was almost set up from the first fight, knowing that Heish could bait him in for a fight, because he'd sort of grown the confidence effectively of the player, and there is the collateral damage.
Still pretty relaxed gameplay, though. Only that one kill. Looks like Jastly has moved over towards the top side of the map. You know, with Kai having used that ultimate, he is now a little bit more vulnerable. That is a culling, and Kai almost going down here. One very aggressive on this Lucian, actually building up a small gold lead in his favor too, but we are going to see the Rift Herald started up here by Rush. Rush has been power farming his way through the jungle. Has got a level advantage on Izez, but hasn't exactly got a gold lead because that first blood did go in favor of him.
Here's the Rift Herald battle that we were considering may well happen, but I think they may be a little too late for this one. It's going to get taken down and burned down. They're going to instead try and focus onto Kai, who will turned in there. So Rift Herald does fall. Can they get the lockdown? Wukong is not available. He's too far away. He's down at the Dragon, so they're actually trading this. So they're soloing the Dragon while they lose out on the Rift Herald. Or at least he's trying.
Yeah, well, Rift Herald's going to take the top tower, the first tower of the game as well, which is a great start for Sengoku. Gets a lot of gold in the Renekton's pockets. We know how powerful the Renekton can be in this situation. But it is a Dragon, so you do trade objectives cross-map, but losing out first tower of the game is a decent gold injection in favor of Sengoku, and so they'll be pretty happy with the outcome here.
Yeah, and really had no pressure on any of the towers so far. You can see barely scratched at all, if anything, for EBG at the moment. So a lot of work for them to do here. Sengoku looking good in the early openings, and that's what's given that gold advantage now. Speaking of which, actually, Kite has rotated up towards the Baron lane, so he is starting to get a little bit of that damage down, taking it down to about half health as Kai returns there, which is going to offset these lanes for a few moments as the Lucian sticks around down the bottom.
H has now rotated down towards the bot side as well. eBRO Gaming looking to...
Straight over the wall, though.
Yeah, they know they're all there. That's a
the spill caught out, though. The Cyclone comes in, but it's only the Braum that they're locking up, who has that huge shield set up and waiting. They're a tower deep, and maybe this is a little too far for them to go. Isis will get taken down. They will get the one for it, but I don't think Fiora's going to get a great deal from this one, and H finds himself in all sorts of hot water, and it's a 2-for-1 in the end, go for Sengoku.
Very telegraphed, in all honesty, from eBRO. Like, I like the idea, but as you mentioned, they walked straight over wards, and actually Sengoku was set up for it. What a great shockwave from Hack as well. Completely nullified the engage, and you can just see this was a little after. That shockwave there was beautiful. This was a little after the engage came through from EZ, but disjointed between him and Ting. He wanted to set up a big Wukong ult to allow that last breath to come through. It just didn't quite happen. Sengoku Gaming are reacting to the punches from eBRO really well here, and that is a good omen for them, because they have that Orianna, who's such a powerful teamfight tool. As this game progresses, those shockwaves can be completely game-changing when you're trying to look for those engages off the back of the Wukong and the Alex.
This is a Tix on the Yasuo that has got a pentakill before in the qualification semi-finals to get here. So we know he certainly has that capabilities, but not quite on the same page. We were talking about it in game one. They are going to collapse onto the middle turret here, but it's a 3v4. Not a great time to collapse. Immediately the Kai goes in. That is a great dominance and an absolute brilliant Kill the Meek, stunning them out under the turret, catching them napping.
Again, Sengoku just one step ahead of eBRO right now as well. eBRO trying their best to get some kind of global gold in their back pocket, grouping up, obviously realizing how important those turret plates are for just getting some gold acceleration, but they're not able to make it happen. Sengoku are much better at sort of reading the map state and understanding where they need to be right now. This is a great resurgence from them, given how that first game went. They have very effectively dealt with the threat of Heish this game. They've kind of kept him under wraps by having Kai back in on the Renekton. And even though Kai has not exactly done well in terms of scoreline, he's ahead in gold, and he's kept Heish under wraps, which is the most important thing with a Fiora. And again, I gotta say, I think Sengoku have just read what eBRO have wanted to do at every step, and they've been there to counter it.
Yeah, and unlike the first game where eBRO had just like a little whisper of help from someone, there's absolutely not a single lane that's ahead right now. So it is turtle time, but well, we know that eBRO don't do turtling. They will continue to fight. They will go looking for that aggression. Rift Herald is going to be where they focus their target, though, which actually could work out. They know it's going to be up 20 seconds before the Dragon. So they took the Dragon themselves. Rush comes down, shows himself. Now, eBRO don't have the numbers at the moment. They are collapsing. There's two down on the river as well that are also engaging. So this is a two-way fight at the moment. They look for Rush. Rush goes under the turret. They will get him down and out. But what's that cost them in the end down the side there? Meanwhile, down the bot lane, there's also a fight going on. So all three channels at the moment. Hayes taking Kai down to nothingness. Now it looks like he's coming out on top in that fight versus the Renekton. That is interesting.
That is really good omens for eBRO, because you want to have a side lane threat that can do that. You want to have a side lane threat that can take the 1v1s effectively. And so Heish, just with that Triforce fight, very cleanly dealing with that Renekton on the bottom side of the map. Great play from Tix as well. I realized that Rush was the absolute key target off the back of that Rift Herald fight. You take out the jungle, you make it much less likely that Sengoku Gaming are going to want to contest that objective. And that was a really nice piece of Yasuo play as well. Picked up that Proto Belt enchant, obviously, so he's able to just use that to accelerate those knockups. And they don't quite reset in time, though. So they didn't reset in time here, and that's allowed Rush to get the objective.
Oh, there's a five-man collapse! Here they come, Justy going down. Everybody from Sengoku in the right place at the right time. Dragon spawning as well. And they're going to be going down to pick that up as well. They're going to see, who's that? Just one person backing. No, okay, they didn't say. The missed call there. I was going to say, bad time to back if that's what they're doing. Did they put Deju off guard briefly there? They could catch out the pit. The Cyclone in the pit is dangerous, but that's a Cyclone that is just going to get locked down. It did absolutely nothing. And that has to be a disengage for eBRO.
Yeah, I think they were just desperate to try and get something on this Infernal Drake, maybe looking for a potential steal. I imagine that's what Izos was doing. He maybe thought the Dragon was going to be lower than it was, and by the time that he committed and saw that it was about half HP, he was like, ah, dear, well, I can't go anywhere now. So I don't think it was as in as it maybe looked on your screen. I definitely think there was an idea to that play. But it looks like they're trying to commit to this mid lane now. Justly, without that ultimate previously, was unfortunately very easy pickings before that fight took place. Great shockwave from from Hack, though, to clear the wave out, and that will stop eBRO in their tracks. Sengoku Gaming definitely coming back with a vengeance in this game. They don't want to let this series drop.
Yeah, I mean, I like the theory that eBRO were bringing to the table a while back, which was to say, okay, we know we've got 20-second advantage on the Rift Herald, we'll pick that up, then we can sweep down the Draken, but just it wasn't backed up by the full team setup, and that sort of cost them. And then once that initial game plan, there didn't seem to be a plan B. There was no fallback option. It was like, oh, this hasn't worked. And then they all kind of stood around mid and it's like, anyone got an idea? That was the worry. It's like a massive transition to what we just saw in game 1 to what we're seeing in game 2. I feel like they may have reverted back to the eBRO we saw against Queso here.
Yeah, and I think also just that immediate game plan has been nullified very quickly by Sengoku. It's been difficult for them to kind of like, I think, do what they wanted to do this game, and that meant that they're just now playing on pure reaction.
He's going in. He's committed to it. That's a good knock-up from Jasly, but have they got the damage to back it up? He goes gold and blocks it up, and that's just the worst time for him. The stage is absolutely shocking them out there. The headbutt does come back in, but they are trying to disengage. They will catch Jasly off guard around the side, so it's a 2 for 0 right now, and that stasis absolutely costing them. Oh, Heish committing when he really shouldn't. Has to burn the flash to get away.
Again, this is the problem with eBRO. When their strategies go out the window, it just suddenly reverts back to we have to engage every given second. And they do have a couple of item spikes to play around, but nothing major, realistically. Like, your Yasuo is still yet to complete his second item. Fiora did pick up Death Dance, but she's not a champion that excels at team fighting. You're gonna have the Axe replay here. Take a look back at what happened. You can see Izez was maybe looking to set up on Hack, but the flash threw him off. And then they used the last breath on Renekton and had the spaces available to buy him time. That was the issue. I think they were trying to catch Hack out. He got flashed. He flashed away, made it difficult for Tix to follow up with the last breath. And that then threw their game plan out the window. They had to use the ultimate on Renekton, which is like your least valuable target when you're trying to use the Yasuo ultimate. And unfortunately, at that point, they'd already hard committed, and it was easy cleanup for the rest of Sengoku Gaming. But I think the problem that you see here is that if you don't get that early game strategy that goes in your favor for eBRO, they then struggle to know how to react and know how to come back. And so then their default or their de facto strategy, the one they always revert back to, is let's just go in and go hard and hope that we win. And that right now is very easy for Sengoku Gaming to counter. They have the Shockwave to disengage, the Braum shield prevents a lot of damage as well. You've got great mobility on the Lucian and the Graves too. And then you have that big beefy front line of the Renekton that you have to deal with because he's that much of a damage threat as well as a big beefy tank. So I think eBRO just need to kind of, again,
they need the perfect fight. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for that perfect fight to get the last breath in there.
But you can't do
get
that,
everything on top. It's just not happening for them. And honestly, Sengoku are playing very well around it.
You can't force that, though. That's the problem, D-Man. Like, you can't just randomly force the perfect fight. You need to set up for it. And the problem is they're skipping the setup phase. They're just saying, well, if I just click my Wukong...
If it happens, it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Hoping they can try. I mean, in fairness, they have reverted well. They've gone to the double split push to 1-3-1. You can see the Fiora on the top lane. That would be the first tower they get down of the game, which is obviously where a lot of that gold has sort of been banked up for Sengoku, because it has been a torrid lane phase so far. They're looking for something on Kai here. You can see that Isis is nearby as well, but they are sort of spotted out, and it was pretty well telegraphed now. Cloud Drake spawning. Sengoku should be picking this one up without any contest.
Yeah, there is not a good setup for eBRO. Ocean Drake, yeah, I mean, it's the third dragon in the game that goes down. Does mean we'll get an Elder Mountain in another 4 minutes' time. The Baron is on the map too. Now we have the package. Usually you want to use the package to do something. You know, you have a limited time window to utilize that skill. But the problem is that Baron is not exactly an objective that you can just randomly force. You know, maybe you can bait in Sengoku Gaming to thinking that you're doing the Baron, but with the fact that you've got Heish on the other side of the map, they know that you're not going to be as bold and as brazen to just randomly do it when you're this far behind in gold as well.
Yeah, I mean, and also look at the gold. I mean, it is predominantly Rush versus Isis. That is the gold advantage difference there. I mean, it's about 4.5k just on the jungler alone. So That in itself is actually not bad for eBRO, you know, with the fact that they are actually relatively within 1,000 gold. We're seeing here how that could work out against Rush. So Hayes with a close chance there. He is going to go down, but they're going for Baron here while that fight happens down the bottom. This is going to try and be a Rush Baron. I don't think they've got quick enough to do it here. They've got to focus on Kai. They've got to try and keep him out there. Hack is there, but the rest of Sengoku coming in. It's going to be a real risky time. They've got to get the kills in. It's not happening for eBRO, and this will be a misplay in the end. Sengoku were quick enough. The big dominance of Kai comes through, gets headbutted away, but there's no follow-up damage, and eBRO will get wiped out. And Tix, well, you got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and unfortunately that will be the ace for Sengoku.
I think the only response that eBRO Gaming had in that situation was to try and go for the Baron. So many resources committed on the bot side of the map to kill Heish. That was the big telling point for eBRO Gaming. There were 3 people committed from Sengoku. That is a clear indicator to go for Baron. You know, when you see that many people on the bottom side of the map, you're like, well, let's just go for it. That's the only chance that we've got. But their Baron take just isn't quick enough. They didn't have Yasuo on it to begin with. The Corki not yet at 3 items. They could not burn the Baron down as quickly as they would have liked. And that was, gave ample time over to Sengoku Gaming to be able to respond and work their way up and contest them on that objective. I don't blame eBRO Gaming for going for the objective, though. I think realistically, when you have a split pusher and you see so many resources committed to that split pusher, it is, you know, the indication that you want when you go for that Baron. But unfortunately, as we said, they just weren't doing it quick enough. Yeah, it's a lot of gold advantage right now.
That's a huge, that's just on Rush versus Isis. That is incredible. Massive stack out for Graves. That is by and far the biggest carry in the game at the moment, and that's a scary, scary thing. We saw it obviously already throughout this tournament how heavy junglers can impact the game, and they generally are probably the most impactful players so far within the Horizon Cup.
Yeah, them and Baron laners have been very, very impactful overall. You can see Rush didn't want to get headbutted there. He used his proto belt just to get out, but they have that Baron wave, and look at how quickly Graves takes towers as well when he's got this many items in the Baron Rush supplement. eBRO now unfortunately pinned in their own base, being attacked on 2 fronts. I'm not exactly sure that they can get a good setup here. They are split and having to deal with multiple waves. They're going to try it. I'm sure they'll try.
I mean, they just landed the full prize, but unfortunately there's no follow-up for it. The rest of the team not here yet, so eBRO just trying to survive at the moment. They're struggling to take down the turrets. Yeah, not a lot they could do here. Sengoku rampaging through the base and rampaging through eBRO, and it does look like for us, Scoundrel, we're going to get a game 3, which is something we didn't get on the first day. We saw a couple of quick 2-0s. I was very jealous of Pastry Time and Smacks getting themselves all those triple games, but they're not going to finish it just yet. They're toying with their food.
Didn't feel confident enough because they technically lost the team fight. They overextended like crazy. However, that is a Nexus with negligible HP, and they only have 1 more lane to push through with that Elder Dragon on the horizon also. Now, the respawn timers are relatively close. The longest one is Heish on the Fiora. So we might have to see some last-minute ditch attempt by eBRO Gaming to contest this Elder. Realistically, if they lose this Elder, they lose anyway. So they may try and set up for one last hurrah around this objective.
Absolutely. I'm hearing the 80s tune of I Need a Hero right now in my head. I'm not too sure we've quite got it. As EBG, they're looking for something, someone, somewhere. But it is a huge disadvantage for them now. And oh, the fact they're not in position to contest this one may well cost them. Justy tries to get close enough. Isis is there. They did get the ward down. You can see Tix coming around the side. He's set himself up something, but that's not the target he wanted. He goes in on Rush. Rush is turning it back around. Meanwhile, the team fight going on here. There's no damage going down from EBG. They are all fleeing for their lives. And Sengoku will rampage through, catch out the Corki, and straight onto the Nexus.
Tix was just like, I'm not getting involved. I'm just clearing waves in the side lane. It's going to be a game for